this is what you left for me, I forgive you. Never do I despair when I kneel to say my prayers. When slumber fills my head, I'll be visiting your bed. All my dreams recollect you. And so, darling, in a way, our love remains new. Funny little things, you touch my fingers and fondle my rings. Tenderly, without violence, we make love in perfect silence. Come, you're coming to my room again. Come, come again. Oh, come into my room again. In this solitude again.
Pilgrim, how you journey on the road you chose to find out why the winds die and where the stories go. All days come from one day, that much you must know. You cannot change what's over, but only where you go.
I want to begin with the quote, if you will permit me, from the Bible, because we both know that Kirk was a very, very serious student of the Bible. But this is a very important quote because it comes from the first chapter of 2 Samuel. And if you remember, Rolodex through your minds, King Saul and his son Jonathan have been killed on Mount Gilboa by the Philistines. And word is brought to David. And the guy who brings it thinks David's going to be thrilled. He's not. He's grief-struck. And the long, long, beautiful poem that he recites has at its heart regarding Saul and Jonathan that in life they were loved and admired, and in death they were not parted. They were swifter than eagles. They were mightier than lions. So in thinking about Kirk and Connor, who is represented by the two paintings to my left and to my right, both of whom this kingdom has lost, I think of those lines. And when I think of Kirk, as I think when we all do, I've heard comments just about the facilities. He created this little kingdom. "26 years ago, which would have been when my older son, Brahm, had just been born. And over the next couple of years, when then he was joined by Nadav, and we lived in Washington, D.C., in an area where essentially they couldn't go outside to play without one of us being with them, because it was just a little bit too dicey. This was the only place, and as they grew up, they began to notice that. They saw their dad completely relax. Because Kirk and Mary Beth had created a peaceable kingdom where I knew my kids were safe, where I knew they were being watched over, if you can imagine, by that jerk Jeremy and his brother Connor. I'm sorry?
BB gun not
I wasn't going to go there, MB. BB guns notwithstanding. Where there were always things to do, so gradually this became for us Camp Kuntz.
With a K, 2 Ks.
With a K, Camp Kuntz. And eventually my third son, who has 4 legs, Poppy, who's wandering around here somewhere, also became part of the party.
Right behind you, don't back up.
Of course, well, he always, when I call him, he doesn't hear. But when I hold forth, he listens. I don't know why, but he's honestly, he's writing my biography, and so he's kind of
taking notes.
But when I look around me, as all of us look around us, we realize how Kirk created a kingdom, how he turned, I mean, this is 6 acres of non-farming farm, except it's not, it's farmed farm. It's just a different kind of crop. So the barn became a workshop. It became a playground, an interior playground with this kind of a machine or that kind of a ping pong table, and upstairs with the relaxed atmosphere in which we could watch old Leonard Cohen concerts with which our kids put up until they fell asleep. And of course, there's the outside facilities. And then he puts in this magnificent pond.
Don't forget the zip line.
Sorry?
Don't forget the zip line.
I'm getting to it. About 4 years ago, when I was here, the pond was filled with this red oobleck. Those of you who are familiar with Dr. Seuss know what oobleck is. And as soon as I left, the oobleck disappeared. We went to a couple of different places to kind of figure out. He took samples of the water, and it was never figured out, except it disappeared when I did. So I never forgave Kirk for that, because I knew he did it deliberately, just to torment me. But anyway, you know, with a house to change and relax in, with all the stuff, and a float out there in the middle, and I can still remember their kids and my kids swimming out to the float and fighting to push each other off the float and all that sort of stuff. It was so much fun. And the canoe that Kirk rescued from I don't know what facility which they would use.
John the car guy gave that to us.
Thank you. John the car guy gave that to us. And then, of course, there was this tiny little cabin right here, which burned down. And so Kirk decided to take the opportunity. Yes. He had built that little cabin. It was where the water source was.
The sleep house.
The sleep house, as we called it. Exactly, the sleep house. But it burned down. So he decided, why stick with something so modest? And as you all know, he built this cottage with its bathroom and with its kitchen and with its bedroom and with its living room and its dining facility and its nice porch to mirror the nice porch that he added to the house, to the farmhouse. And of course, adding to the porch and the farmhouse, that wonderful pagoda, where I can only speak for the times when my family and I were here. Morning, and the omelets, and the bacon, and they've never forgiven me for the protein-added pancakes, which turned green as a consequence. They tasted fine, they just had a weird color, okay? And in the evening, the salmon, or the steak, or the brats, or the burgers.
And we'd all take turns.
And we'd all take turns.
Who want, you know, I mean,
Right.
we didn't even have to figure it out. Somebody would start
It just
cooking,
kind of rolled.
somebody would start
It just kind of rolled.
It did.
And many of you have been here for those meals in that pagoda. But this thing, this magnificent additional structure, was fine until we entered the era of drones. And the thing about drones is they can do a number of things. They can direct where the bombs go, but they can also just take pictures from above of what the landscape looks like.
Too many
And on this
buildings.
landscape, wait a second, what's that building doing here? Was there a permit for that building? It turns out there wasn't. But it turns out that if you read the law carefully, there are certain circumstances under which you can make such an addition, as for example, if you've got a business.
Not without a permit, though.
Not without a permit. So a price would be paid at that point. This was, after all, 1847 Elm Hill Farm. So Kirk said, it's going to re-become Elm Hill Farm. The business will be the production of elm trees, and as probably, well, the younger people won't remember, Dutch elms disease, that those of us who are older remember. They were knocking elms out left and right all over the Northeast. So it had a logic to it that was absolutely perfect. And here we are seated among the elms, that if you look carefully, you realize we're not all planted at once, but over a succession of plantings, which is why some are thicker, some are thinner. We lost a few of them. If you look over my right shoulder, you will see 2 empty spaces there, like Kirk and Connor, 2 empty spaces from among the elms. And this became the became Elm Tree Farm in a kind of quasi-official sort of manner. And that was, of course, the office. And there were going to be lectures. This is the first Elm Tree Farm lecture. And now, having been with him, I will and we will miss him. And how every time not only am I here, but any time I see an elm tree now, I associate it, of course, with Kirk, with the afterlife, with the world beyond, to which he has gone, and with time and eternity. Toast to Kirk.
My first thought is,
Project.
you know, they say that when you die, you go to heaven. I really don't believe that. I think when you're born, you go to heaven. And I think Kirk is like such strong evidence of that. So much where he said on what he created here, it's a slice of heaven here. It's amazing. I mean, what he has done to all of us here, brought us here and enjoyed here. We had so much fun here with the parties. My kids were little when they're here. We used to, we do Ghosts in the Graveyard, which was basically hide and seek here at night. Scary, fun, and a blast. We used to have
Was
football.
it really fun, Ash?
It was very
Okay.
We used to have football games here over there with the kids. Kirk and I would each be a quarterback, and we'd have each kids and we'd play. We have a group of kids. And my favorite play was I'd have like Ashley, Madison, Margaret, whatever girls, and it'd be like, and everybody run to Connor, pinch his ass, and turn around, and you're guaranteed to be open and his play. And it was so funny because Connor would see all these girls coming at him. It's like, and they're going at him. And it was a foolproof play. It was great. But,
And that never ended. All the girls going for
exactly. Maybe we started something. I don't know, but it was something that was just special. But what he has done here too, like you have said, with his woodworking, to me is amazing. I mean, we're looking at this here. It takes a slab of rough wood and turns it into magic. I mean,
Like the thing in front of you.
like the thing in front of me, but then the other things are like this times 10. I mean, it's just mind-boggling what he did.
unbelievable.
It really is. So we're really here not because he died, but I think because of how he lived is the real reason we're here. And it's evidence here, like I said, this is heaven because of Kirk. I think if you talk to 10 of his friends, they'll all say they lost one of their best friends. Yep. It's tough. Just what he meant to me, what he's turned me on. I mean, he turned me on to Leonard Cohen. Never heard of him before. We shared passion for Bob Dylan, music, just the things that I've shared with him. Golf partners, but we won't get into that because we both were terrible.
Maybe a little too high to remember the details of the story.
Something exactly. I mean, for us, it's like we when we golfed, we had to bring. First of all, we had to have a cart to carry the alcohol because we didn't like that. And it was to us, it was like bowling. You know, you really don't keep score, but you go out there. It's a beautiful place, and you just play because you're with your good friends and do. You know, that's what you're out there for, not for a good score or something like that, because we never really got one. Even though he was one of the most he always had the straight shot where I'd be going like this and all right, I'm walking this way, and Kirk would always say it wouldn't be that long, but always had this incredibly nice, easy, straight shot that he had the whole time. I like say I wish I had that because I didn't. But I just wanted, he also turned me on to mojitos. So all these great things he turned me on to in this great place that we are here. You know, the more it hurts, the more you love them. And it hurts. Here's the Kirk.
Kirk.
Sure.
When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway
There's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place beyond the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why? Oh, why can't I? Rilke called the lace
Rilke.
being human, term for a flickering possession, existence of a happiness still undemonstrated. Is it inhuman that a pair of eyes turned into this small, densely woven piece of lace? Do you want them back, where your huge feelings went, as between stem and bark miniaturized? Do you want them back? Through a tear in fate, a tiny interstice, you absented your soul from its own time, and it is so present here in this light section of lace, it makes me smile at usefulness. And if someday all we have done and all that has happened to us seems so inferior and strange, as if it were too much trouble to outgrow our first pair of shoes just to come to this, shouldn't this strip of yellowed lace, this tightly meshed flowery border of lace suffice to keep us here? Look, this at least got done. A life was ignored in the process? Who knows? A delight was there, was going to be sacrificed. And finally, at any cost, there should exist this thing, not easier than life, but finished and so lovely, as though it weren't too soon to smile and soar.
You'll speak loud.
Yes, but the second to last time I spoke to my dad, I called him and I was walking home from class and I just wanted to hear about his day. And he goes, "Hey buddy, I'm here with Tron, I'll talk to you later." And then he hung up on me.
Another true story. I felt really bad about that. You can talk to him, I'll wait. But anyway, yeah, that's how he was. But what Kirk gave me was something that I think we lose too much and too early, and that is how to be a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is what, in fact, I would write Mary Beth because Kirk wasn't that good with his phone or responding to messages, and I would say to Mary Beth, "Can Kirk come out and play?" and that's what he did for me. He allowed me to be a kid again with his best friend, and I just love him dearly, and I really miss him.
Yeah. Thank you, Tron. Thank you.
I know what I want to say, but I don't know quite how to say it, so if I stumble, sorry about that.
Speak up.
And over to the podium, please.
So in the last 2 years or 3 years of his life, and before the name was politically compromised, I took to calling Kirk Luigi. I gave him this name because to me there was this persona about him. He was Luigi Calamari. He was a retired, semi-retired film director, Italian film director, and he was actually had his last script halfway up his sleeve, and he was just sort of hanging out, contemplative. That's a key word here for me. Contemplating what was happening in the scene in front of him. How could I pull some of this into my last film, the big one? So now I want to bounce back 40 or 50 years. So I first met Kirk in high school. He was close friends with my younger brother, born Matthew, now named Auxentius. He's a Greek Orthodox monk bishop in Northern California. He and Kirk were close. They went out they drove bicycles. They didn't make it all the way across the country, but they got out to Colorado before my oldest brother had to bail them out. That's another story. But my brother, after he graduated from Princeton, he felt the calling and he became a monk. And Kirk flirted with that, as he flirted with a number of things and a number of people.
What is he saying?
And that's a hard calling, and it didn't work out for him, and that was a somewhat painful thing for him at the time, but he was trying to figure out what his life was going to be all about. And so, as we all know, he eventually gravitated towards being a doctor in the ER. Now, I've heard the story, the rationale for this when you and Kirk were talking this through about early career moves, and it made all kinds of sense because he wouldn't be plagued with the administrative work. He'd be able to spend time with his family. He'd be able to spend time in his workshop cranking out all these amazing pieces. And I think all that's true to a certain extent, but it typically shorts Kirk. I think 40 or 50 years ago, when my brother and Kirk initially parted ways, they reconnected over the last several years of Kirk's life and spent time with each other on 2 occasions. But at that time, if there's a God in heaven, I think that God was saying to Kirk, I don't need you here. I don't need you in a monastery. I need you over here. I tried running the numbers to figure out how many people with Mary Beth and Jeremy and Akul, how many people would Kirk have seen in a 26-year career in the ER? Tens of thousands. Tens of thousands of people. And I think Kirk wanted to be there, and I think Kirk wanted to be the heart and soul inside the coldest part of the medical machine, the ER, where it's nails. We've all been there. It's tough stuff. And the people who are in there are charged with just process. Get them in here, get them out there, deal with the problem, next. Kirk wasn't like that. He insisted on being there. He insisted on empowering his staff. When he was on, they were happy because they knew he would draw on their skills to get the team through, to make the best out of the day and do the best thing for everybody in the room. So when I think of Kirk, as I do a lot these days, I know you all do too, I'm overwhelmed by his silent legacy. All those people that he attended to in the most human way. I've been reminded endlessly by Rooney about his faults, his blemishes. And God knows he had them, but it only made him more endearing.
Really?
So for me, my Luigi is the most compassionate person I've ever met in my life. I'm hard pressed
And I
to
will
think of
never
another.
disabuse you of that nature. Ever.
You're going to have your chance up here in a minute.
No, but
Calm yourself. So I'm just astonished and overwhelmed at his legacy, and I'm so proud to have been his friend. And Luigi, my brother, I miss you.
I was similar to kind of what Chris described, not quite sure what I wanted to do with it, not quite sure where I was going, and I had a passive interest in medicine, but my grades were terrible and I didn't have the money, and Kirk gave me the opportunity to come up here. Jeremy, I don't even think you were home. Mary Beth and Kirk invited me into their house. They didn't know me, had never met me, let me stay here and go shadow Kirk at work and see what it's like to be a doctor. And I'll be honest, I didn't learn a lot about the science or the medicine or the drugs or the physiology or anything from Kirk, but I learned probably the most important things about medicine from Kirk just from watching him. And in his time, in the 2 shifts in the emergency department I followed him, I learned so much about compassionate care and about resonating with your patients and getting on their level and understanding why they're there and what they need. And, if you know physicians who've been practicing for 25 years don't cry for their patients anymore every day. Kirk still cried on those shifts. He'd come back and he'd put his head in his hands and he'd sob and he'd put his head back up and he'd get back to the work. And it meant a lot to me. I wrote my essay for med school about wanting to be like Kirk. He wrote my letter of recommendation. Mary Beth and Kirk, after my own parents, were the first people I called when I got into med school. And when Jeremy called me to tell me what had happened, I started grieving that day. Because I knew.
Yeah.
And Kirk would have known too, because he'd seen it before. We know how it goes. And you can feel that sense of hopelessness that you can't do anything anymore, and you know what the outcome is going to be. And then I thought of the things that I learned from Kirk about the most important parts of medicine, the humanity of it. And you look at the life he built and the beautiful people he surrounded himself with, and you think that's the model. That's what we should be. It doesn't matter. We can't fix everything with medicine. We can't fix everything with science, but we can provide the humanity that people need. And so when Jeremy told me what happened, I thought, what would Kirk do here? He knows what the outcome is going to be, and he knows who's involved, and he knows who needs the help. And I just hope that he knows that everything that I could do for him in that moment was something I learned from him.
You were wonderful.
You were so incredible, Gakul. You were amazing.
You were wonderful.
And I hope I can model my life in a similar way that he built his. And not a lot of us are lucky enough to have heroes. And I'm really proud to say that Kirk was mine.
So thank you guys all for being here. I wrote some things because I wrote some things because my dad is just like, he's just kind of like the fundamental rock of my whole universe. And he's the person he's kind of my he's my North Star. He's the person who showed me how to be in the world. The person I'm doing my best impression of. Other than when I try to be cool, and that's Connor. But Dad and I were definitely fellow dweebs, so it was like an easier path to follow. Yeah. So I wrote some things. It's hard to find words to honor my dad, who, like you've said, was a literal hero. But he was also my very specific hero. And there's one image I think of above all these other ones, and that I've been thinking of a lot lately, that I think speaks to who my dad was and how he carried himself in the world. And it's that since I was a little kid, maybe like 5, we'd play this game. So he would wake up at like 4:30 in the morning to go to the most intense job in the world. And before he would do that, one morning, it occurred to him to just go wake me up and just kind of shake me awake like 5 o'clock in the morning and go, "Hey buddy, metal pineapple." And then he just went to work and he came back. And then after he told me and my brother about the bloody people, which is what we called his patients, he'd asked if I remember the word. And and it had to be something semi-realistic, but with a strange, impossible twist, right? And 3 syllables were the best ones. Those were the ones where he was like, "Oh yeah, that was a good one." So metal pineapple, blueberry pot cakes instead of pancakes, upside down sphere, weird shit like this. And we played this game every day for years. And then we played it when we had to come home because he was sick. And instead it was me giving him the words. And this was just one of our traditions. And I have more of them than I can count. We would take a night swim in the pond every night, all summer. And we would sit up on the 3rd step down there and he'd ask me about life and what I thought about it. And we'd play game nights. So if it was cold, we'd play backgammon and chess, which he made backgammon and chessboards because we expressed just an inkling of interest. And when you're the focal point of that person's love, he just showed up with the board so we could play. And we'd make a fire, or we'd practice out of this like spelling bee book called Paideia for like literal hours, and he would just quiz me on shit. Or we'd play pool and ping pong and air hockey and all the other things that have been in and out of the house. The old pinball. Do you remember the old pinball with the boobies that were there? The first boobies I ever saw. Yeah, we had all those things. And of course, more recently, we had the super fun family fun night with surprises brought to you by the Kuntzes, where we would pile everyone in the car, but you couldn't tell anyone what the plan was except the person who made the plan. And so you give them misleading clues, like you need a toothbrush and a bathing suit. And then we would just go do shit and have fun together. And that's what amazes me most about my dad. That yes, he was this doctor and this just absolute master woodworker and artist and craftsman. But he cared so much more about being a good friend and about being a good dad and a good husband. And he just wanted to make up weird words and then see if I'd remember them the next day. That's so cool. And he just always had time to be there. Always. He used to say, "Hey buddy, have I ever let you down?" When I'd ask him to do like stupid shit for me, like, "Hey man, can you go pick this up?" Or, "Hey, can you help me with my homework?" Or, "Hey, can you," he would literally pause me and say, "Hey, have I ever let you down?" And I'd pause for a sec just to try to come up with a time when he really screwed me over. And then I'd be like, "No, dude." And he's like, "All right, see you later." And then, yeah, he was always there to ask me how I was and to give me advice about my life and how I should lead it. And, to joke around and to have a flojito and to cheer me on. And I think he did this with everybody. He just was a big teddy bear who wanted everyone to just kill it. Chop wood, carry water, blow their minds. And I guess what I want to say is that my dad is and always has been the kind of person that I hope to be. I hope that I am. Someone who's in equal parts humble and freakishly capable and larger than life and just so deeply human, you know, so generous and kind, and just like hilarious. And I think more recently I've been thinking that like he's the kind of dad that I want to be. I think finally after going to Thailand and being at the site of Connor's accident and doing these other things that I did, we've been able to think more seriously about that, you know, building a family. And so I just hope I'm the kind of the dad who's not too busy and who could just like pause one morning to make up a stupid ass word, see if my kid remembers it. And my dad's my best friend, Dad and Connor, and I miss both of them every second, and I love them both more than I have words for. And I know that they're chilling super hard with all the dogs Woody and Kaya and Ivy. And that just makes me happy.
And they're watching over
And Booty. And they're definitely taking care of us. Yeah. And they would really love this. Both of them. Connor would have drank a couple too many.
Yeah. You think?
Dad would be probably on the pond.
In his SpongeBob SquarePants shirt.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I love you, Dad. Always, always, always.
I'm just gonna read it for everybody.
It's in English.
It's in English. So it says,
Worry word.
and the dodo said to Alice, everybody has won and all must have prizes. Wrote Kirk, quoting Alice in the Wonderland in a little yellow house filled with random objects, little bells, buttons, levers that he designed especially for his children. Kurt was and still is the kind of dad every child will wish for.
Yep.
I'm jealous. I will always tell Jeremy. At first, I found it strange that even when I was trying to shoot a basketball ball, which who knows me knows that I'm terrible at it. He will comfort me by saying, "Great job, excellent, Vito." At first, I thought it was not a big deal. He was just like exaggerating. But then his words of encouragement, even though he didn't help revive my long defeated sports spirit, began to extend to everything I did professionally and creatively, helping to heal wounds and build self-love. I understood everything. Always serene, precise, with exhaustive knowledge of his language, my best teacher, with a deep sensitivity for beauty. An artist. He hated painting and drawing, hated. But Kurt, as all you know, built a house with his own hands, and then he planted not just one tree, but a forest to thank them for giving him all the material for his creation. He also taught me, as Jeremy has, the art of enjoyment, of celebrating small victories, of creating traditions like mojito time, and like watching The Grinch every Christmas Eve. And he knew every line of that movie. He said, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna throw up, and then I'm gonna die. That was one of his favorite lines. He would repeat it every time we talk about that film. It hurts because, like I heard before from Chris, Kirk is one of those beings who lights up a room without saying a single word. One of those rare specimens you only ever read about in books. And I haven't even said that he was a doctor for more than 30 years and almost a monk. He said, yellow is my favorite color. He said every time he saw something yellow. And I gave him a fluorescent yellow cane for his last birthday. And as a joke, he called him the Mellow Yellow. That was the name. And he never lost that cane again. So when he was hospitalized, hallucinating when he just fell the first time 2 years ago, I remember he looked at me and he asked me, and where's your dad? What are you doing here? And I told him, gone, Kirk, he's gone, Kirk, a long time ago. Now you are my dad. I love you for that, Kirk.
Now, whoa, 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 whoa. I love sangria wine. Oh, 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 I love sangria wine. Oh, 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 I love sangria wine.
When you get up in the morning and you see that crazy sun, keep me in your heart for a while. There's a train leaving nightly called when all is said and done. keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, keep me in your heart for a while. Sometimes when you're doing simple things around the house, maybe you'll think of me and smile. You know I'm tied to you like the buttons on your blouse. Keep me in your heart for a while. Hold me in your thoughts, take me to your dreams, touch me as I fall into view. And when the winter comes, keep the fires lit, and I will be right next to you. Engine drivers headed north to Pleasant Stream, keep me in your heart for a while. These wheels keep turning, but they're running out of steam. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, keep me in your heart for a while. Sha